So, Kemi Badenoch just became the first black woman to lead UK Conservatives, and Labour PM Keir Starmer said the first black leader of a Westminster party is a proud moment for our country. Isn't it curious that the right-wingers, supposedly the racists, like the party that represents the nativists, right, in Britain, can't get a white person to be Prime Minister? They had Rishi Sunak, and now they have Kemi Badenoch as the nominee. For some reason, they keep bringing in minorities. And it's not just the Prime Minister. Even when Boris Johnson was in power, they had a lot of their ministers and high officials be minorities. And, the left keeps talking about representation. They demand to see minority groups, gays, women overrepresented everywhere, with the excuse that it's some sort of rectifying of historical injustice, like white men oppressed everyone and now, it's our turn. It's nonsense. But the one place where I think the most important value of representation is in politics, because essentially it's about loyalty. Tribalism. If you have someone who's a foreigner, or let's say a first generation, second generation immigrant, and they have ties to different groups, right? They have now the responsibility to govern for the best interests of their own people, like the people of the country. Let's say if you are Prime Minister of Britain, then for the British. But at the same time, you're also tied by blood and culture to a completely different group that will expect you to use your power for their advantage. They expect preferential treatment. So, for example, you saw under Rishi Sunak a great increase in the amount of Indian immigrants into Britain. And I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with Indians coming to Britain. I'm just pointing out that he was acting in the best interest of his racial group, and that might not always align with the best interests of Britain or people who are native Brits. Which is why representation is important, which is why I don't want a Prime Minister who isn't Jewish in Israel, and why I think it's perfectly natural for people in white majority countries to want a white Prime Minister or President. Nobody would raise an eyebrow if in China they demanded a Chinese Prime Minister, or in Africa, go to any African country and say that you want to be Prime Minister when you're not black. I dare you. Same in the Middle East. Try it. If you're not an Arab, not a Muslim, and go to an Arab country and try and run for Prime Minister, I want to see how it goes. Nobody will accept it except white people who have been propagandized to hate their own so much. The only group in existence in the history of humanity to have an outsider preference, right? Preferring outsiders to their own people, are white liberals in the West. And I wonder how long they will be able to persist, because the birth rates are dropping and foreigners are coming in at record rates. And in my opinion, this group will just, by its own behavior, cause itself to disappear within a couple of generations. That's my prediction. Anyway, so Kemi Badenoch became the Conservatives' new leader and the first black woman to head a major British political party on Saturday, after winning a leadership contest on a promise to return the party to its founding principles. Right? She replaces Rishi Sunak, and she basically says that the resounding defeat at Britain's July election was because they veered towards the political center by governing from the left. She's supposed to be on the right of the Conservative Party. I don't know anything about her, so I have no idea if it's true or not. Badenoch will likely back policies to shrink the state and challenge what she says is institutional left-wing thinking, saying it is time to defend the principles of free speech, free enterprise, and free markets, which is great rhetoric, and for now I will remain exceedingly skeptical, because we've heard so many of these types of promises, and then when they come into power, they betray them all. It's sort of one of the reasons Trump has so much credibility, is that you could see that he was governing from the right and that he was being blocked at every turn by the establishment, but he tried to do even more, to be even more right-wing than he was. And basically saying, well, I was inexperienced in politics, and there were very strong criticisms of my government to the point that they would nitpick anything. I was looking for people to nominate, and basically people just said pick the ones that are not controversial, that are very mainstream, that have a proven track record, because they will be more resistant to media attacks, because some of the people he tried nominating were swiftly ousted after scandals. And so he tried that, and basically these people sabotaged him and did the opposite of what he wanted, the sort of non-controversial pick. So Donald Trump has sort of a proven track record of trying to fulfill promises, and fulfilling quite a few actually. His campaign in 2020 was promises made, promises kept, and he had a long laundry list of promises that he did keep. Kemi Badenoch is going to face against the skepticism of the masses that are used to the bait and switch to right-wing promises and then centrist, if not left-wing governance. It's going to be a tough hurdle for her to cross. Just my 2 cents in my opinion. Anyway, so Badenoch became the Conservatives' 5th leader since mid-2016 after winning 57% of party members' votes in the final stage of a month-long contest. And so a field of 6, whittled down to 2, should be the former immigration minister Robert Jenrick, who won 43% of the votes. Keir Starmer basically said that it's a very proud moment to have a black woman leader of a Westminster party. She tried to not focus on her race. She says, I am somebody who wants the color of our skin to be no more significant than the color of our hair or the color of our eyes, which is basically the Martin Luther King viewpoint that the left completely abhors, right? On the right, it is very accepted. On the left, it's considered racist. Colorblind racism. Google it, it's a real thing that the left believes in. For some black voters in London, a city which tends to favour the Labour Party and has a Labour mayor, support for Badenoch will depend on what she does now as leader of the Conservatives. I'm going to point out London is like 80% foreigners. The Labour Party is the party of the foreigner and hates the natives. Anyway, quote, they, the Conservative Party, are not more approachable because of the fact that they've now got a black person, said Imani Samuels. Sounds very British. He was a student. It will just depend on what she's doing. Asked about Badenoch's comment on her skin color, Samuels replied she should be proud of that and she should step forward with her blackness, because to have such a position and to be black and a woman should be something she's very proud to say. And quote, why? Because they are identitarian, they are tribal, they see it as them colonizing you and they're happy about it. If you actually want to get the country back on track, the first thing you have to do is to completely reject their, how to put it, entire worldview, if I'm being honest, but the sort of tribalism and colonization of your country under the guise of equality and fairness. They don't believe in equality, they don't believe in fairness, they hate you, and they want to replace you. In fact, they are outright saying it. It's just that if you try and repeat their own words, then you'll be called a racist and conspiracy theorist. Anyway, Vaughan Gething became the first black leader of the Welsh Labour Party earlier this year, but resigned after just 4 months as the first Minister of Wales after a wave of ministerial resignations in protest over his leadership. I remember that he had a ton of scandals and he was exceedingly racist against white people. He has a very famous speech where he basically spits out that the people holding positions of power in his country are all white, and how wrong it is, despite the fact that it's an overwhelming white majority country. What do you expect? If you want to go to a country where all of the people in power are non-white, then let's say you're black, go to a black majority country. There you will find the black leadership that you desire. It's not rocket science. It's very natural for natives to be in positions of power in their own land. Unless, of course, you are a leftist and then you think that that does not, how to put it? That it's immoral if that happens in a white country, specifically. Everywhere else, it's fine. So, tell the truth. Badenoch promised on Saturday to tackle problems in the party head-on. The time has come to tell the truth. She told the audience at the final count of the leadership contest, promising to answer the main questions over how the Conservatives lost the July election so badly. I'm looking forward to these answers because I think they'll give us a glimpse at what kind of potential prime minister she might be. It is time to get down to business, it is time to renew. Okay, but that doesn't tell me much. With forthright views on everything from what she calls identity politics to the value of officials, Badenoch attracts both strong admirers and detractors. She is certain to shake up the Conservatives who saw their contingents of lawmakers in the 650-seat parliament fall in July to 121 from 365 seats in 2019. With the Labour government off to a bumpy start, some Conservatives are increasingly optimistic that they could win back power at the next election, which has to be held in 2029. But some more centrist Conservatives worry Badenoch might alienate not only the more moderate wing of the party, but also some voters who were won over by the centrist Liberal Democrats at the last election. Yeah, right. You lost all your voters because you were too left-wing. You betrayed the promises of Brexit. You betrayed the promises of being right-wing, essentially. You did not govern the way that you were expected to. You pushed censorship despite the fact that you're supposed to be against it. Not as much as the Labour Party, but boo-hoo. The difference isn't that big. You were doing bad things, just not as bad as the Labour. That's not going to get you elected. From economics point of view, you also messed up immigration, which was a big reason people voted for Brexit. They wanted to reduce immigration. You increased it manyfold. Essentially, you didn't keep a single promise and everybody hated you. So now you're saying, well, if we go back to what we promised, then we might alienate voters who chose to leave us after we betrayed the promises. Yeah, no, I don't believe it for a second. So, the task that stands before us is tough but simple. Our first responsibility as His Majesty's loyal opposition is to hold this Labour government to account, she told party members. Our second is no less important, it is to prepare over the course of the next few years for government. Well, we'll see how that goes for them. I am skeptical. I think people have had it with the Tories. I don't think they'll give their trust as easily again. I suppose it'll come down a lot to what kind of nominations she makes for her shadow government. But somehow I highly doubt that you'll see a nativist and right-wing Tory party that is actually against immigration. It's actually against money printing and trying to, reduce, cut spending. I don't think we'll see that. Incidentally, I don't think if they actually do try to create such a government, she'll be ousted from power like Liz Truss was by the central bank because she was trying to cut taxes. I kid you not. You can try and watch the Lotus Eaters coverage on Liz Truss. They did, I think, a pretty good job. And honestly, end the Fed is a common right-wing / libertarian call in the United States. I'd say it should be a global call. I don't think any central bank should exist at all. Regardless, I think that's enough for now. Thanks for watching, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you next time.